October 26, 2014. Over 36 years since it first carried passengers, the dusk finally set on the MD-11 program. The story of this airplane was turbulent right from the beginning, with unforeseen difficulties and an ironic twist. Strap yourselves in to the end of this quick documentary to learn more about the rough ride of MD-11. The story of the MD-11 didn't start with a bright note. Following the unfortunate and tragic crashes of multiple DC-10s, mostly attributed with the poor design and lack of redundancy, the reputation of the Douglas brand was hard hit. With sales declining, McDonnell Douglas decided it was time to put themselves back in the race, now against not just competitor Boeing, but fast-growing Airbus. However, there was an issue. The company wasn't in the best of financial situations. Due to lack of orders and delays to the military programs, their cash flow took a hit. Eventually, they decided their last shot was to build the ultimate DC-10. After all, they had actually begun studies on further DC-10 upgrades since 1976, with the supermodels conceived having a longer airframe for more seats and aerodynamic upgrades with higher takeoff weights for more range. In order to avoid the negative public perception of DC-10s, they decided to completely refresh the naming scheme and launched the MD-11 in 1984. Despite controversy over the trijet design, McDonnell Douglas was convinced the market was there for an upgraded trijet, and initially at least, it seemed they were right. 52 firm orders were placed with 40 options. McDonnell Douglas worked with them and launched just one version, their best MD-11 specification yet. They promised airlines a range of 6,800 nautical miles carrying 323 passengers to class. And with that, work began to quickly build the first MD-11. In 1988, the first pieces of MD-11 trickled into the company's Long Beach factory, and immediately the program ran into huge delays. The decision to lower costs on the company by outsourcing developments to other companies proved disastrous, and the lessons clearly haven't been learned. But nevertheless, the first MD-11 was finally rushed out of the production line, and soon, on the 10th of January 1990, the first MD-11 was ready for takeoff. FAA certification followed shortly thereafter, with the aircraft being flown to a number of extreme aerodynamic circumstances. But finally, on the 9th of November 1990, less than 1 year since it first took off, it received the FAA Type Certificate. And with that, it was time for business, with a stream of deliveries ready to follow. Things started off with Finnair on the 7th of December 1990, while the US started flying its first MD-11s in 1991. Finally, a revenue-generating product that for a while looked like great news for McDonnell Douglas. The strategy of minimizing changes, recycling parts for maximum orders and profits seemed to pay off. company, which was already in poor financial state, seemed on track to dig itself out of trouble. But as airlines started operating these aircraft, and as McDonnell Douglas began further testing, it quickly became obvious something wasn't right. The calculations have clearly been miscalculated. The aircraft's performance wasn't up to specifications. By the time McDonnell Douglas calculated the fault, it was all too late. Singapore Airlines, one of the most prestigious airlines to sign up for the MD-11, cancelled all 20 of them, choosing instead 20 A340-300s, a drastic blow to McDonnell Douglas. Nevertheless, McDonnell Douglas pressed on with finding fixes here and there, with the first patch coming in the Phase 1 drag reduction, though even then, the aircraft could only fly 6,493 nautical miles with full payload, over 300 nautical miles short of promised. They pressed on, working with engine manufacturers to reduce fuel burn of the engines. At the time, the PW4460 and GE CF6 were already the most advanced and fuel efficient. Nevertheless, both manufacturers agreed to work with Douglas. And finally, by 1995, the MD-11 was up and running as promised. Things, however, couldn't have been worse for the company. Within this period of time, while they were tweaking the aerodynamics, trimming off weight, the rest of the industry had moved on. With the emergence of twin-engine A330, long-range A340, and the new efficient 777, all of them were more fuel-efficient, more reliable, had better performances and lower maintenance costs than the aging MD-11 design, whose roots dated back more than 20 years prior. Americans sold off their MD-11s to FedEx, which gave the MD-11 a new lease of life as a freighter. Fortunately, the freighter version of MD-11 was popular, sold at low prices with an impressive 609 cubic meter hold capable of taking 90 tons over 3,562 nautical miles. The freighter conversions too proved popular, not least as airlines were rushing to retire passenger MD-11s for more profitable 777s. The freighter conversions and new-built freighters really were what saved the program, but unfortunately, they were not enough to save the company. Ironically, while Boeing might have been relatively late to the game, they slowly but steadily won the long-haul large wide-body market, with the 777 being the clear winner in its class, beating out even the A340. With little remaining orders and lack of financial capability to invest, McDonnell Douglas was finally forced into a merger with Boeing in 1997. Eventually, having finished construction of all remaining freighter orders, the last MD-11 was delivered to Lufthansa Cargo on the 25th of January 2001. It's a pretty sad end to this once innovative company, but if there are lessons to be drawn, it's the lessons that innovation must remain at the heart of any company. Companies must never take innovation for granted, must make all efforts to always be at the cutting edge before their gambles pay off, as it did with Boeing's choice of going twin-engine for their 777. Ironically, the lessons of the 90s would clearly have gone unheard of, and many of the same mistakes that failed the McDonnell Douglas company is now taking its toll on the company which inherited this failing mess, Boeing. Thanks for tuning in, and till we meet next time, wishing everyone a truly clear sky ahead.